throw as well. Masu cleanses away, and Maple dashes through the unraveled earth and is immediately locked up. And Bwipo will just run through PSG. What can you do in the face of a man this wide and this happy to put you in the meat grinder?
What's going on, guys? Munchables here, and I'm starting a new content series to go alongside MSI 2024, where we break down a couple of the big fights and a couple of the really impressive players of the day. We're going to start today with PSG versus FlyQuest, and we're going to look at Bwipo. Now, when we roll this clip, there's important context to the fact that Dragon was just taken by FlyQuest, and off the back of that, you can see Betty, 3 seconds until he spawns. Maple has only just respawned. So PSG are flailing to get in here. Now, FlyQuest, they start the Baron off. Notice Busio not going to be a part of the play. So this is a 4-man play from FlyQuest. And as we sort of roll the clip, you can see Aja and Junja going to try and contest. The TP comes on through from Maple. The 50-50 comes in. So Junja flashes into the pit. Aja's flanking as well. So Junja is going to be able to steal the Baron. So great stuff from PSG so far, right? Feels pretty good at this point. Aja gets someone out of the pit as well. Manages to finish this kill off. Or Masu manages to get away, but this isn't particularly impactful. But what I want to look at now is what Junja and Maple do in response to this situation. So PSG, they've got the Baron. Best case scenario now, they just leave. But FlyQuest do a really good job, and specifically Bwipo does a really good job of punishing them. Masu gets out on the blast cone here. He'll be finished off by Maple. But take a look at what happens to the rest of PSG. So Junja gets kind of lost in the pit. Maple's forced out. Junja, now alone in the pit, will just be finished off by the 3 players remaining. I really wish spacebar would work for me. So Junja gets finished off. But Bwipo finds an opportunity. As Aja jumps over, he's stunned on the Talia rocks here. And Bwipo gets an opportunity to combo him. So at this point, Maple flashed out. He's coming back around to flank. He sees an angle because Betty has arrived. He finished off Masu. Woody's coming in on a flank as well. In the meantime, Aja's trying to engage onto Bwipo with Betty on the other side of the wall. It feels like a good angle for PSG. But because of Bwipo's efforts here, it turns into an absolute disaster. Woody can't get in. And because Aja gets stunned here, Bwipo gets an opportunity to essentially combo him and flash onto Betty. Take a look at this from Bwipo. So the Sterix gets him, ults in, flashes over, fears on Betty. In the meantime, because Aja and Betty couldn't join the rest of the play, Maple goes down. Woody gets chased down as well with Bwipo on a flank. So phenomenal team fighting coming out. But Bwipo especially, the flash ult onto Betty, absolutely phenomenal. And there's a couple of really, really important things to look at this sort of post-fight screen before we look at the next fight. Because there's a follow-up fight that's even more important. The most important thing is Betty used both summoners trying to survive Bwipo. Maple used flash and Junji used flash. That's going to be crucial in this next fight. So this is the follow-up fight, and there's a couple of really, really important things to point out before we get into the actual action. And that's that A, Bwipo is monstrous at this stage. 3 fully completed items, including a Jack Show. So he is tanky, and he's happy to be in amongst, especially with the Sterix, he wants to be in amongst the enemy team. On the opposite side, Junja, who is essentially the main frontline aside from Aja, he's only got a Knight's Vow and a Warden's Mail, Balmy Sin. Like, it's a bit of a jumble sale here. Not that tanky. He's 2 levels behind Bwipo as well. Obviously, jungler's always going to be behind, but important in the context of how squishy Junja is. Now, as I mentioned before, the flashes still on cooldown on our AD carrier mid and on the jungler from the side of PSG. Bwipo knows all of this information, and he's going to use that information to basically force a fight. While these carries don't have flashes, there's a really, really good angle. FlyQuest are up in gold right now, and so Bwipo moves in down the river, and he drops a ward in this brush. Now, we saw in a replay later that Bwipo was spotted by Junja here. However, it was only for a split second. So Junja is not confident on whether or not Bwipo retreated. I think he assumes that Bwipo retreats around here. But Bwipo actually moves into the brush. PSG don't quite have full information on that fact. And it looks like, when you pause at this point, right, it looks like Bwipo's in trouble, right? You can see Jensen all the way down in the bottom lane. You can see Inspired is nearby, but the other guys are in mid lane. It's going to take a moment for the rest of the team to arrive. But Bwipo knows how absolutely invincible he is and goes for the play anyway. Maple is the one basically face-checking onto Bwipo, who has no flash. We already know that he's punishable. And realistically, who is killing Bwipo? With this armor in hand and lethality on the enemy team, Maple's kind of the only target that can actually kill Bwipo in the first place, so he's the perfect target for Bwipo to catch out. So Bwipo immediately starts the fight onto Maple. Not only does he get some good damage down, he also gets Maple's ult. Junja then ults him as well, and Maple is forced to dash away to the back of the play. So at this point, Bwipo has already got a ton of resources out from PSG. The Avengers have assembled for FlyQuest. Not only have the guys that were nearby sprinted over, you can see TP was used by Jensen. It's literally just finishing. That's why it's not up to date on the overlay. And now he's going to wall in as well. It's literally like the Avengers assembling around Captain Belgium. I believe he's from Belgium. I can't actually remember. But yeah, so now Jensen flies into the play. Bwipo is just tanking forever. The Steric shield is massive. And this is the difference, right? Junja dies in the meantime. The whole PSG squad cannot kill Bwipo because he's so tanky. Jensen flies into the play and honestly goes extremely deep to make this play where he doesn't even have a Zhonya's. Usually I'd say it's perhaps a little bit too deep and Jensen does lose his life for this play. But because Bwipo's so strong and because Masu is untouched, he can kind of get away with being a bit more risky in the fight. Gets this perfect flick back onto Maple here. And as Maple flies back, you can see Bwipo is ulting at the same time. And I will say, he's lucky to get this shot off a little bit because the flick back is about to hit as well. But Bwipo does land the ult there. You see it just land there. The stun comes on through. Bwipo gets the opportunity then to finish off Maple. And then on top of that, Betty, perhaps a little bit questionable positioning from Betty. He dashes forwards towards Bwipo. And at that point, Bwipo can just chase him down, gets the fear. We know Betty has no summoners, so he finishes off another target. And with both carries gone, there's nothing that PSG can do. Off the back of that, you saw the clip at the start of the video. Bwipo takes over the game. And that is how FlyQuest went from essentially a 1k gold lead into getting a Baron, into back-to-back fights all through Bwipo's strength on the URGOT. Fantastic stuff.